Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Unit. Stick with us for a couple of seconds and I'll tell you all about triangulation.
Oh, this week for sure, huh? Not talking about another treasure, are we? Trilateration. That word gets different every time I see it.
It does. You know what? And it's my fault because, and I'm not even going to say the other one that I did because then I'll start confusing it again. It's all in my head. The correct word is trilateration.
Okay.
Right. The activity is slightly different, but the word that we're looking for is trilateration.
Okay.
But first, the news.
Oh, okay. Who's that?
That is Clayton Watson. And he found treasure number 2017-270.
Already?
And he took pictures and he wrote us all about it. And he came up with a very unique idea that we're going to tell everybody about next week. I'm not going to talk about treasures this week. I just want you to know that 270 was found and not to look for it anymore. And we'll tell you all about it next week in a show separate from our vlog. How's that?
So bonus.
Is that better? Yeah, bonus show.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe because we have all these great bonuses coming up for our subscribers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So let's go on to
Good job, Clayton.
Clayton.
Clayton. Good job, Clayton.
Trilateration. See, I'm doing it.
Trilateration.
Trilateration. So trilateration is a technique. It has its basis in geometry, and it's a technique used to locate a point in space by using at least three other sources of identification, I guess is the best way to describe it. The reason it's familiar with to me, because I spent 5 years in the U.S. Army Security Agency doing in Vietnam what was referred to as radio research. And the reason it was called radio research is because apparently what we were doing was not in accordance with the Geneva Convention. But the Army Security Agency, like the Naval Security Service and the National Security Agency, was responsible for radio signal intelligence, or SIGINT, as they like to call it. And this was a technique that we used in Vietnam to locate enemy headquarters and then use it as a way to take further action. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I wanted to distinguish it first. Let me tell you, actually, I'm going to let Shelley tell you how we got to that point, because it's a complex theory that we're going to apply to Fenn's poem. But I want to tell you, practically speaking, how we got there. So tell them the Cimarron Recon story.
Okay. Well, we haven't really talked about our Cimarron Recon.
May I interrupt for just a second? Just 1 second. Calazars, it's coffee, but it's your brand. I just happen to want a cup of coffee. Okay, go.
So we haven't got a chance to talk about our Cimarron Recon other than that we hid a treasure while we were doing that. But this is Cimarron. We went up there because that's where Warm Waters Halt.
Mm-hmm.
Warm Waters Halt.
Warm Waters Halt.
Warm Waters Halt there. So we went to Cimarron. It's up there in Eagle's Nest area, and we were walking around. And we were near the Cimarron River, and we got out just west of the river. We were going to walk around down towards the river, and but we saw this tree that was very interesting. It looked blazy, and it had a lot of deadfall around it, so we went to investigate that. And from there, we saw deer bones, and Toby got a little freaked out about maybe it was a bear, and I said no, probably a deer got hit in the road, wandered back up into this area, and died, and then the vultures and buzzards and whatnot picked away at the deer.
Well, what freaked me out was that it had the potential to be a bear, and I didn't bring the bear spray with us. That's what I was freaked. Well, I'm not freaked. But
well, he likes to stay safe.
Right.
So, as we recommend to everybody.
I got this really pretty lady to protect. I don't
so,
want
we figured, okay, that's no place for the meek if there's deer bones everywhere. And, I mean, they were everywhere. They were just
scattered.
Which is why I thought it was probably, buzzards or whatever. So, we continued to walk up looking at those, and then we saw some cairns, right?
Man-made cairns.
A couple of cairns.
No trail.
No, it was no trail, but it wasn't a difficult walk. As you can see, it's just, a little bit of bush and but mostly flat.
Detritus.
Yeah, detritus.
I'm going to try and work that into every one of our vlogs.
Okay. So we got a little bit further away from the Cimarron River, and I started to hear another water source. And I said, "Do you hear that?" And you thought, what?
Well, I actually thought you were hearing the Cimarron down below us as it was being echoed off the side of the mountain, because I knew, based on the map, there was cliffs, small cliff faces ahead of us, and I thought it was just a reflection, an echo of that. But as I neared where Shelley was standing, I could actually hear the second water source up above us.
So we went up and took a look at that. It ended up being a little trickle of a waterfall that came down some rocks and turned into a small, very small stream, and then it disappeared underground, much like the sinks, only tiny.
So after that, there was no paddling up that creek.
Right. So then we began to look around, and Toby noticed above us there were wires.
Power wires.
Power wires.
That traveled throughout the canyon, from one end of the canyon to the other.
And so we had decided at that point to kind of keep an eye on them, and I was, because of heavy loads, right? Heavy loads, wires. And so I was walking underneath the wires. I could hear the stream and see where it would have been had it continued and not gone underground. And then I looked up, and I could see a mountain not too far in the distance, and on the side of the mountain was a blaze of quartz. And then I said to him, what if I'm standing under heavy loads, I'm hearing water's high, and I can see the blaze? And that's where he came up with the idea for triangulation.
Trilateration. Now, you're right. When we talked about it in the context of actually being there, my first response to what Shelley was saying was, oh, we're triangulating here. And indeed, in that case, we were. But I realized that's not how the poem would work. The poem would work in the context of trilateration. And so I'm going to give you an example of both. There is one other thing. If you go to our blog, gypsieskiss.com, and there's some photo sets. You'll see them listed down the right side navigation bar. And one of the photo sets is from the Cimarron Recon 2017. And you'll see photos of all the things that Shelley described to you in what she was saying. Okay? So that's where this thunderbolt of lightning hit me. Basically, Shelley threw it across the stream at me is how it struck.
And I did find a tree under where the wires were, where I could hear the water, where I could see the blaze. I found a tree, and at the base there was a niche, just like the place where we hid the treasure. And
exactly.
I thought, that's where the treasure should be, and it wasn't there. So somebody must have taken it.
Somebody must have taken it, yeah. Dang nabbit. Darn that, Fenn. Fenn recovered it. He knew we were getting close. And so he came and got it before we had a chance. So darn him.
Well, this is a joke, in case you were wondering.
So let's talk about triangulation first. So triangulation is a technique that's used in orienteering and mapping. And let's say that Shelley found herself right down by a lake, and she wanted to let me know where she was, but didn't know exactly where she was. She just knew that she was by a body of water. So what she would use is her compass to take 3 different readings on 3 different high points, if you will, noticeable points that I could find on the same map, and that would tell me specifically where she was. So she would shoot those compass points. She would shoot those ranges and come up with the reverses of those, and then she could calculate based on that exactly where she was located, and she could make a choice either to find her way out of there or call her husband Kevin to come and pick her up. I don't know. What would you do?
I would not be alone. I don't know why you think I'd be out there alone.
Yeah,
just not.
So that's triangulation. That's where you're someplace and you need to know where you are. Trilateration is slightly different from that. Trilaterization is the need. Did I say it?
Yes.
I'm going to do this. You're going to have to correct me every time just so I can start saying it right. Trilateration.
Yes.
Trilateration is just the opposite. You can hear a source of a signal, and back in the olden days that was just an analog radio signal. Since then, of course, it's become all kinds of different signals from analog to digital. So I can track you talking on a cell phone, for example, or I can track you talking on a ham radio. Either way, so analog to digital signal source. So you can hear the signal source, but you don't know where it's located. Now, the only reference I have for all of this is my experience in the military, and especially the experience in Vietnam. I was commander of an Arvin Ranger unit, and our responsibility was to provide security for what were referred to as DARS sites, Division Advisory Radio Research sites. And basically a DARS site was a Connex that was filled with electronic equipment. It was landed in a location by a big Chinook helicopter, and then 3 guys would jump out of the helicopter, go into the Connex for 3 days, pull out a bunch of radio intercepts, signal intelligence, and then go back and they'd start processing that. My job was to secure that area. So in order to get a good signal, you had to set up at least 3 good DARS sites, Division Advisory Radio Research sites. So I think that's where the trilateration comes from. In order to be accurate, you need to have at least 3 of these locations. So we still didn't know the source of the signal, but now we knew where 3 DARS sites were, and there's 3 diddy boppers in there with their headphones on, turning the knobs. We used to call them knob turners. Turning the knobs to figure out where that signal was coming from their perspective. Once they could do that, they would be able to identify a range, and that's what they called it, a range of where the signal was coming from. And then once that was done, they could pinpoint it pretty closely in terms of where specifically that signal was located in relationship to where they were sitting. And that would give us a prospective target. After that, a lot of different things could happen from, a simple, depending on its size, the size of the unit. It could be a simple ground attack, or it could get as big as an arc light, which is a carpet bombing by a B-52 bomber.
Wait, that's not me anymore, right?
No, that's not. Shelley is not at the center of all that.
Good.
So that's how you use trilateration in order to identify the location of the source of a signal.
And if you'd like to hear more about Toby's adventures in Vietnam, look for his book to come out next year.
So we've been talking about Shelley. Shelley has been listening to my Vietnam stories for, I don't know, as long as we've known each other, and finally said, we just have to write a book. So
that's right.
Once the snows have arrived and we can't do any more reconning, we'll make our vlog, and we're going to start writing a book of those experiences. Mm-hmm. So we think you'll enjoy them.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, after having listened to what Shelley was suggesting and having thought about my experiences in the military, I thought, what if Fenn's treasure is a source of a signal? Now, I'm not suggesting that in terms of the rational, the logical, or the real. I'm using it as a metaphor. I do not believe Forrest Fenn planted an EPIRB in his treasure.
But it sends off an aura of goldiness.
I like that. So the signal is this sense that it's giving off something in the context of the poem, and that's where this becomes important, and that's why it needs to be thought of as a metaphor for all of this. Like I said, I don't think this is the physical real world. I don't think there's an EPIRB or another signal generator someplace hidden in the treasure. Okay, so what if it was a signal source? Then we'd have to look at it from the perspective as we do know there's a signal there, but we don't know from whence it emanates. Now we have to co-locate it. So in order to co-locate it, we have to do the same thing. We have to establish metaphorical, maybe even metaphysical.
Golda-oriness.
Yeah, golda-oriness. Okay, so let's make it metaphysical DARS sites, right? And we start ranging it, and as a result of the ranging, we have some sense of where the treasure is located. So the question is, what do we have to work with in terms of those 3 DARS sites? And the answer is, we have the poem, and we have Fenn's Rule of 369. Now, I need to make sure that everybody understands that Fenn's Rule of 369 is my creation. It's how I see Fenn and his behaviors, he tends towards the numbers 3 and 9 especially, occasionally 6, 9 clues, 6 stanzas in the poem, et cetera, et cetera. And so you see a lot of that, and you wonder, well, is it natural? Does he do that just as natural? Or is it him purposely configuring something? So I'm going to apply my interpretation of Fenn's behaviors in what I call the 3-6-9 rule. We know that Fenn has told us that there are 9 clues in the poem. Suppose I were to take those 9 clues, divide them up into 3 dar sites, and start interpreting how I search for the treasure from that perspective. This is how I would do it. This is how we would do it, because, again, I've got a partner that I've got to take out to that location, and I've got to be able to convince her, well, I have to make sure she's safe, that we're safe, and I have to be able to convince her that we're not wasting our time. Watch the watch the Taos box video.
The John Dunn Bridge.
Yeah.
Not going there again.
John Dunge, the Taos box recon.
Yeah.
So let's say I were, and I've just done this 3, 3, and 3, 9 clues. My interpretation, 3 clues each, and I divided them up into what I'll call dar sites. Okay. First one is begin at where warm waters halt, take the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. I have always interpreted those as what I would call directions. Do this. Suppose they're not directions, but intersections of a point at which you could establish a dar site. And then break it up the second set of 3 clues. From there, it's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek. And again, in terms of what we had thought in the past, we thought of those as not directions, but state of the environment. This is where you are. And then the final piece, the last 3 parts of the clue of the poem, of the clues in the poem, were what to do, what action to take. So the action is just finishing off just heavy loads on waters high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Now, what would have been interesting about all of this is if I had thought about this before our Cimarron recon, I think our Cimarron recon would have been significantly different from what it was. I would have had the idea before we started going up there, and I would have made, before we went up there, and I would have made recommendations to Shelley about what we were going to do once we got there. But because we had to be there for Shelley to grab the bolt of lightning and throw it in my direction, it was necessary to do that kind of confirmation first. So we're very excited about it. We have restructured a couple of our recons in terms of this new theory, and they're working. They're fitting, and honestly, it's getting kind of weird.
That's the aura of goldiness.
Oh, the aura of goldiness. So.
All right.
So we're going to call this the Toby and Shelley trilateration theory of the Fenn treasure poem.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Big mouthful. So where is the treasure then?
No, this is going to be like a cipher. I'm going to get you part of the way there, and then you have to figure out some of it on your own. We can't give it all away.
Well, what
Besides,
if I give you
at this
$1?
point,
Would you give me more clues then?
maybe we'll do that. You want the rest of the story? You're going to have to go to that jot form and pay $1. No, I think this is one of those. No, you're not going to have to pay $1. But I think this is one of those that that the searchers have to kind of pick up, decide whether or not it can work for them, and work it out for their own solutions. Mm-hmm. Because I think everybody has to apply it differently. Just because it works for our solutions, it may not work for everybody's solutions, and everybody knows we're looking in New Mexico. That's our theory. But at the same time, there's a part of me now that needs to go back. Excuse me. Kalasars.
So you're not going to tell us where the treasure is?
So I'm not going to tell you where the treasure is.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not even going to tell you where we're going to look for the treasure again.
You're going to take me up there with a blindfold on, a bag over my head?
So, recommendations?
All right.
I'm just going to tell you what Fenn tells you.
Right.
Don't mess with a poem. The poem is a map, and you know I haven't always agreed with that. I've called it a sandwich. I've called it an upside-down wedding cake. I've called it other things. But in this case, I'm going to agree with Fenn. The poem is a map. Fenn, the aviator, understood trilateration. Now, he may not have called it that. He may have called it triangulation.
No, that's another new word.
Triangulation. But he couldn't have been an aviator without understanding at least the concept. The poem, and I'll do it again, this is what Fenn says, the poem will tell you where to find the treasure. And I need to, admit in public that this was Shelley's bolt of lightning, and as usual, I just took it, ran with it, leveraged it, made it my own.
Yes.
How's that?
You're all right.
Is that fair?
That's right.
All right.
If you were interested in figuring out that cipher from last week, and you also figured out the key words that we took and used from Fenn's poem, and you'd like to share that, that fame that you figured that out, then leave us a comment and tell us what the key words were in last week's treasure cipher.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And then subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, when you subscribe, you can get notices of new videos and live streams. And what you do is first you have to have a Gmail account, then you have to have a YouTube account, then you subscribe, then you click on the little bell up in the top corner, and then the little gear shift. I know this is a lot. The little gear shift, and that tells you, oh, now you can manage your notifications, and that way you can click what you want, what you don't want, and that way you make sure you get exactly what you want.
Nice.
I know it's a lot, but
and now I will admit, between now and what's today, October 2nd, for the next month, you're going to get notices of our testing, our live stream. We've got to do that because we changed technology. So if you get a notification and it's a live stream notification for Gypsy Kiss, and it starts with the 3 words test, 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 ignore us. We're just making messes.
Yeah, but you'll know how it works for the future for when it's not a test.
Exactly. You'll
just
get
like that emergency broadcasting system that you get on the radio for storms and things.
Good one.
Yeah.
Don't ignore those.
No, but they do the test, and you can ignore that. Okay, November 2nd, we'll be live streaming from Collected Works Bookshop in Santa Fe for Fenn's launch of his new book.
Right, and that's why we're doing all this testing between now and then, because we want to make sure that as subscribers, you'll be able to see it. Now, if you're not a subscriber, you'll still be able to watch it. You won't get a notification. You'll just know to sign on to our YouTube channel, and I'll put that link below, the live link for our YouTube channel below. So you'll know if you're still not a subscriber, you'll still be able to watch the fan event at Collected Work Bookstore in Santa Fe on November 2nd.
Yes,
okay?
That's
it's going to be fun.
And it will be recorded. Yes.
So it's supposed to start, Fenn told me it started at 6 p.m. We might start up a little early to get Shelley some screen time, and maybe we can even talk Fenn into doing a quick interview.
Or just, yeah. He's probably going to say, oh, I'm already telling you about my book. Just record that.
Well.
But maybe Douglas.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. We haven't talked to Doug.
Yeah, because we have that question for Douglas.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next
week. Tuesday rather than Wednesday. So because it's going to be a live Q&A, we're doing it on Tuesday. Because we usually record our shows on Tuesday and then put them up on Wednesday mornings. We're going to just go ahead and shoot it live next Tuesday. That would be October 10th.
So what's happening?
12 p.m.
12 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
Yeah.
We tried to look for another time that was suitable for everybody. There isn't. Each time you change the time, somebody can't make it. So we're going to do it at 12 Mountain Daylight Time. If you can make it, that gives you the ability to ask questions.
Or if you can't make it, you can send us your questions in advance.
Right.
Where are they going to send them to?
Send them to our Gmail account, gypsieskiss@gmail.com, and we'll try and get them all in. So.
All right. And it's going to be my birthday, so we're going to have a big celebration for my birthday, and we're really, really hoping, and we're just going to take the bull by the horns, and we're going to say, we're going to have 1,000 subscribers by next Tuesday. So
Where are we
we're going
at
to be
today?
celebrating.
We were over 950.
950 something.
So
So we
near.
need you to get 50 of your friends to subscribe for my birthday gift. Or, you can send me a birthday card. Or do both.
Or do both. And if we make 1,000 subscribers, I will buy a cake celebrating Shelley's birthday, and I'll have the big 10 number things as candles. How's that?
Right.
That'll be fun.
And yeah, if you do want to send a birthday card to me, our address is in the description box.
Our snail box is our snail
Snail box.
our snail mail address is in the description box below.
And next week we're going to have a treasure hunt bonus video. It won't take the place of the vlog. It will be an extra video for the week, and we're going to talk about Clayton and how he found the treasure and what is transpiring because of that, which is pretty cool. Don't miss it.
It's very exciting for us. Clayton is not only a sharp guy, found the treasure, made the drive necessary to get the treasure, but suggested a really, really neat idea, and we've taken him up on it, and we'll talk about that in a separate video that will come out on Wednesday of next week. Okay.
And then, of course, we're going to be doing our fan mail videos. So if you have fan mail for us, either comment below with your
Now you're
fan
just
mail,
asking for it.
or you can send it to gypsieskiss@gmail.com.
Now they're just going to beat up on Toby.
No.
Mean tweets. Send your mean tweets. Post your mean tweets to Toby down below. If you have nice things to say about Shelley, post those as well.
And that's it.
Is that it?
I think so.
All right, let's go.
Thank you for watching and subscribing, and for paying attention, and for your wonderful comments. And for Gypsy's Kiss the Vlog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.